coming from the coast, especially with flooding.
Yes, and some of that is starting to improve around the low country, Charleston, but the surge, it's picking up as that storm's bringing that onshore flow into the Grand Strand and Myrtle Beach.
That's right. Yep, the timing looking pretty good as far as what we were expecting would happen. Things starting to wrap up in Charleston. They actually just canceled the flash flood warning out there, but the conditions continue to worsen for Myrtle Beach and the Grand Strand. So this thing is moving pretty steadily at about 8 miles per hour to the north-northeast. So I'm thinking that the timing that should work out is going to get it out of here by 11 o'clock midnight at the latest.
And I'll tell you what, that center track actually did a really good job. So far, it's verifying pretty well, keeping the storm about, at least the center of the storm, about 30 miles off the coast. In fact, it's a little more than that now off the coast of Myrtle Beach as it's starting to pull toward the northeast just a bit. Again, winds at 110 miles per hour offshore, but we're getting those gusts between 40 and 50 along the coast near Myrtle Beach currently, and it is improving around Charleston. So happy to hear that. We did have some flooding, but the flooding, we're getting reports that it's actually improving a good bit. Flash flood warnings have been removed for much of the low country and over toward Charleston. The eye looking a little ragged right now, but it is still holding together offshore, and it's going to continue to bring some very strong wind over toward Myrtle Beach. I did that measurement just to give you an idea of how far off the center of circulation is from the shore, and we're going to have a live report here coming up in just a minute. But the heavy rain is just unrelenting along the coast, and we've had the heavier bands off to the north, and that's been our biggest concern for tornadoes. Got a couple of tornado warnings. In fact, one of them there just north of White Oak along I-95 until 4:15. We're going to see these brief, somewhat weak tornadoes develop within these heavier bands. All that rotation produced by the hurricane helps to create those quick spin-ups along those heavier bands. Now, it's expected to be moving into the North Carolina shore by around 8 p.m. tonight, and then over toward the Outer Banks by 8 a.m. Friday morning. That takes it out to sea by the afternoon tomorrow. So good news there. Winds right now are definitely picking up around Myrtle Beach with gusts at 44, 37 in Charleston, so improving there. So we're going to continue to see the winds pick up even more around the Grand Strand, but luckily things calming down around low country. Let's take a look at Cape Fear, North Carolina. You'll be next in line to get some of the worst of it. And look how strong the winds are already, and that high surf, and the storm not even there yet. That is going to be a major issue as the hurricane could really batter those barrier islands. Now let's head on over to meteorologist Ben Dorenbach for a look at what we can expect moving forward.
That's right. What we're expecting is basically for winds to eventually die down past Myrtle Beach, but that's where we find the highest wind gusts at 44 miles per hour. And here's some of the highest wind gusts we've seen from Dorian as of now. This is in the Charleston area, 86 miles per hour at Winyah Bay. Charleston Harbor reporting 78 miles per hour and 74 miles per hour in James Island. A little bit less than that in Hilton Head, South Carolina at 67. But either way, these hurricane force winds certainly verified with this forecast. And in addition to that, we've got over a dozen tornado reports, a couple of which that happened around North Myrtle Beach, but the majority of them happened around eastern North Carolina. And these are just estimated rain totals, but here's some of what we could have already seen in terms of actual measured rain. North Myrtle Beach measuring about 9 inches, some similar rain totals. Charleston and some of those beach areas just east of the city. So just to recap some of the on-land watches and warnings, we have flash flood watches all the way from Hilton Head north to southern Virginia, southeastern Virginia associated with Dorian. And of course, with some of those outer bands, we have this tornado watch in effect from I-95 eastward in North Carolina. So tornadoes are usually something we don't talk too much about in terms of hurricanes, but they're one of those little side effects that can sometimes happen within some of those outer bands. So in terms of futurecasts, notice that we see this thing move almost completely out of here by Friday morning, and then that keeps the area completely dry. So honestly, once we hit tomorrow morning, it is going to be history, and that will be a sigh of relief for all Carolinians. That's going to leave us really quiet for the weekend locally as well. Not that we've really seen any of these effects whatsoever in the Western Carolinas. There's other activity going on in the tropics too, which we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. But first, let's get a check on the roads with Chris Scott.
All right, Ben, thanks.